Hello friends, welcome back to my channel KBS Technocraft. Today in this tutorial we are going to understand how to leverage data table and scenario outline in SpecFlow for effective BDD testing. In this tutorial we are going to understand what are data tables, what is scenario outline, how scenario outline enhance test scenarios, difference between scenario outline and example tables, integrating data table with scenario outline, benefits and limitation of using scenario outline in data table. Let's understand what are data tables. Data tables are a feature in SpecFlow and other BDD framework that allow tester and developer to represent tabular data within a feature file. They provide a structured way to define multiple set of input or output data for a scenario. For example, let's say consider you have a calculator program where you want to test the addition functionality or feature of that calculator. What you will do, you will require to test that application with multiple set of data. For example, if you consider number x and y, you have to test that with the different value of x and y. In this case, either you have to have some external data sources from where you read these values and compare with the expected value to the actual value. In SpecFlow, the tables provide that mechanism where we can have a multiple set of data where we can configure our input value and expected value. When the program runs or when test case runs, what does it do? It used to take that input value and then perform that particular operations and compare with the actual values. To understand in more detail, let's create a SpecFlow solution in VS Code. So I have selected the SpecFlow template and solution project, and then I created the new project. This project name I have given as a SpecFlow data table and scenario outline. You can give it any name. And then once the project gets created, then you can see that by default it used to create a calculator.feature file, and then you can see inside the step definition file folder is created a file called calculator step definition. Now, when you try to build it, let's check that environment setup is correct or not. So once you click on build right, so what will happen? You will get this build successfully happen. So let's see that still build is going on. Okay, so I can see build successfully. So build successful happened. Now let's see. We will try to run it. So let's say the text explorer. You can see here you are able to see text explorer, and when you run it, it will the test case will not get passed. Even though we have not added any assert on that, but test case will not get us. Why it's not getting passed? Because in if you see the step definition file, they are throwing the exception by default. Template will throw the exception. So let's comment this. So I commented throw exception so that our test case should pass as of now. So let's run it, build it and run it. Let me run the test case. Automatically it will build the, so I will run this test cases. So you will be able to see this test cases are now getting passed. Okay, so there is no assert, so it's getting passed now. So our environment setup is good. That means we are able to run our project, and let's see that. So now let's say consider this. In this, what is happening? The numbers what you are passing here is hard coded into the steps, right? This is steps. Now you want to make it a little bit more dynamic, and you want to pass this value as a table, right? Gherkin tables. To do that, what we can do, we can create a different scenario, and we will pass those values using data table, Gherkin table. So I'm going to create a different scenario, and this scenario is going to use this. using data table. Okay, data table. So I just created it, and here I am passing number one and number two. Let's say consider I will pass here number 50 and 70, and then my result should be 120. So the syntax of Gherkin is that creating a table using pipe symbol, and it should be after the step. So once you create after the step, this line will be considered as a Gherkin table, and then the first row of this Gherkin table will be considered as a column. So now I have created this Gherkin table. Now I fixed it. Okay, now we need to generate the step definition file. So we will generate step. So define step. We will copy this, copy to clipboard. Since step definition file is already there, we will try to paste it. Yeah. So if you once you paste it, you will be able to see this values whatever you have created into the Gherkin table, it will be passed as an input parameter. So if you see here, these are the two steps which we are able to get it. So what we are able to get it, we are able to get the data table here, this input parameter. So it's automatically get passed to a step as an input parameter. Okay. Now let's see that what the value is coming here. Now what I did it, I deleted the old test cases which is comes with the template, so that make sure that our scenario which we are addressing is neat and clear. So I deleted from the feature file, also I deleted from my step definition. Now I'm going to generate, after the writing the scenarios, I'm going to generate the step definition. So I just click on that scenario and then step generation, and then copy to clipboard, and then I will go there to step definition and paste that code here. So let me paste it here. Okay, so now you can see this information is added. I'm going to remove this throw exception. Okay, now we will try to see how we can read the number one and number two here, whatever we have defined here in our step definition. So what we will do here for time being, we will declare int number one equal to 0 for time being, and int number 2 equal to 0. Okay, so that we can hold that value for our reference purpose. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the value of the data table. To read that, since it's a data table, it can have a multiple row, so we will put a loop called for each loop, and then we will try to see number one equal to convert dot to int 32, and then we will use that row, and then whatever the column name you have defined into the your Gherkin table. So for us, we have defined the first number as a number one and the second as a number two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy paste this by changing number one to number two. So just paste it, and this one I will mark as a number, rename it number two, and this is number two. Right now, we will go on the verification step. When user uh, click on the add button, then this is the verification where we are going to verify this 50 plus 70 is equal to 120 or not. So this is the value. So now what we'll do, assert assert that r assert that r equal assert assert that are equal, and that is number one plus number two. So I put number two is equal to this. So here we need to pass the actual and expected value. So expected value is P2, P0, and actual value is this. So we will try to put like this, and this is expected value, and actual value should be number one, number one plus number two, number two, number two. So that's it. Now, so here this is how we can declare it, and this is how we can read that. Let's run this test case and see that what is the result. So let me build this. So rebuild, you can see rebuild successful is displaying here. And then if I go test and test explorer, if I run it, I'm running the test case. Okay, so this test case get passed. Now let's say consider that our test case is working fine or not. What I will do, I will make it 121 expected. So in that case, the test case should fail. Now let's run this test case, and it should fail. See, the test case get failed. Okay, so this is how we can read a Gherkin table information in our step definition file. I will take one realistic example after explaining the scenario outline. Let's go with the scenario outline. Now let's understand what is scenario outline. A scenario outline is a feature in SpecFlow and other BDD framework that allow you to define parameterized scenario. Let's say consider you have a scenario which you want to execute multiple time with different set of parameters. So in that case, we can define that scenario as a scenario outline, and we can define those parameters for that particular scenario which you require to change on every execution. So let's understand same example by adding multiple scenarios in that single scenarios. To do that, what we are going to do that we are going to execute same test cases with the multiple set of data. So in this test case, if you see, in this test case, we are having adding two number where we are having this parameterized number one and number two, and also we are having corresponding result. So in this case, what will happen? This scenario, if you remember here, the scenario outline is the keyword from SpecFlow which is provided. That means whenever you are defining scenario outline, that means you have to define the example. So let me explain one by one line. So here we have given the first parameter, next one is second parameter, and then this one is the third parameter. So this scenario outline uses three parameters. This number one and number two, when you sum it, it should result to 12. Let's consider number one is 5, number two is 7, then result should be 12. So similar way, this test case when it runs, basically it will be running three times. Why three times? Because there are three rows in this example. So this scenario outline will force this particular test case to run three times. One is for number one as a 5, number two as a 7, and result equal to 12. Other one is 10, 15, and 25, and last one is 3, 3, and 6. So let me stop this, and then I will build this solution. And let me add one more tag here. So I will add a tag for this particular test scenario as a scenario outline. Scenario outline test, for example. Just save it, and solution explorer, I will rebuild it. Once you rebuild it, let's see the test cases. So if you see this, I will go again text explorer. Let's say go text explorer. Okay, so if you see scenario outline test, this is the new tag which I added here. You can see now if you see explore this test case, right, you can see this test case contains three test cases, one for 5, 10, 25, 3, 3, 6, and 5, 7, and 12. So if you see this all is now, since it's a parameterized and we are using scenario outline, we will be when you execute, let's say it will fail, but let me run it. So when you run this test case, right, you will be able to see this test case is running three times with a three different parameter, right? So that's how whenever you are having a test case and you want to run that test case multiple times with different set of test data, then you can use scenario outline. I hope it's made clear. Now let me explain the advantage and disadvantage of data table and scenario outline. The advantage of basically data tables and scenario outline, it make your scenario more readable and self-explanatory. That means all the test data will be visible to the reader, whoever is reading, and they know that what is input and what is expected output is there. Efficiency, when you can test multiple test set of data with minimal duplication. That means, for example, if you go to that particular test case and you want to add one more test case here, right? What we will do? We will be just having one more row here. Let's say consider I want to make it 4, 5, which should give me 9. I will put it here. So it's very easy to extend this functionality by having all the coverage of that particular scenarios. Okay, so these are the second, and then it maintainability is very easy. For example, if you are having 10 test cases and there is any change in that functionality, what will happen? You have to go to all the test cases and do those changes. So in this case, what will happen? You need to just change a particular test case, and since all the test data and test scenarios are grouped by that particular scenario outline, all the test cases will be fixed. So I hope this helps you to understand data table and scenario outline. If you like what you see, please subscribe my channel. Thank you so much for watching my channel.